On to the Banshee Rune. Honestly, I had no idea this bike even existed before I went to the demo booth. I also had no idea that this was an enduro bike with 160 millimeters of travel out back and 170 up front. I really didn't even pay attention that it was Sram XO1 Eagle drivetrain with an odd brake pairing of Shimano's lower tier SLX. Heck, I didn't even know what the bike was called. I really just wanted to try MRP's new ribbon fork. Made right here in Grand Junction, Colorado, with its separately adjustable positive and negative air chambers, which can give you incredible small bump sensitivity, and their famous ramp control, which allows you to adjust the progressivity of the fork on the fly without volume reducers. Now, this was my second bike of the day, and the first was the Rocky Mountain Slayer, which is a long-legged enduro bike as well, giving me a really good reference point for comparison. But the Banshee Rune felt extremely different when comparing the two side by side. It doesn't help that I started off with the fork in the more linear setting and ended up in a low-speed crash from the fork diving where I'm used to rollover. Now, I don't blame this on the fork or the wheel size or the bike. It was my own user error with having to slow down with a technical spot on a crowded day. My fault. I get it. Now, the Rune has similar geometry to the Slayer as far as the head tube angle and the seat tube angle, but the reach is a little bit shorter and the chainstays are about a centimeter longer, which I think were a contributing factor to the way this bike rides in comparison to the Slayer. Where the Slayer felt like an incredibly efficient and supportive climbing machine, the Banshee Rune felt like pedaling a downhill bike uphill. It was plenty stiff with not much pedal bob, but it felt like I was slogging a heavy, long, and slack machine up. And where the Slayer was confidence-inspiring and made up for my poor line choices, the Banshee Rune felt like I had to be more precise in line choice. And this could have come down to tires since they're the high rollers instead of the DHFs. And where the Slayer felt like fun, the Rune more felt like work. Now, I get this is purely my own opinion from my 3-hour test ride, so I'm sure that it's a great bike that a lot of people love. But it just didn't feel right for me and my trails. You know how some bikes you get on and they feel perfect and they fit like a glove and you fall in love, but others just feel foreign and awkward? That's kind of how this felt for me. Now, the XO1 Eagle drivetrain worked perfectly crisp, no complaints. But I'm not convinced it's worth the extra money, especially since SRAM just released the GX Eagle drivetrain for like $500, which is priced incredibly well. The Shimano SLX brakes were consistent to the full force stopping expected from Shimano brakes, which I actually prefer. The race face turbine dropper worked perfect, although it was only a 125 millimeter drop. And I find that even though it's only 25 millimeters, I much prefer the 150 millimeter drop. And it's oddly noticeable when you don't have that extra inch of clearance. The Cane Creek double barrel CS air shock in the rear worked just fine, but it didn't stand out as a winner in comparison to RockShox or Fox. But maybe my legs just aren't sophisticated enough to feel the difference. Although one thing I did notice about the Cane Creek shock was that it had this little high-pitched squeak, and it squeaked a lot. It was a little bit annoying. Now on to the MRP ribbon fork. Once I dialed in more ramp control to get the fork more progressive, it felt as a $1,000 fork should. Stiff, with no flex, plush when it needed to be, and supportive when it needed to be. Now since I ran 10 psi more in the negative air chamber, this made it uber sensitive to the small bumps, and it fell into the progressivity of the fork a lot easier when it needed to. The one complaint I have about the MRP ribbon was that I wish that the ramp control clicks were more definite. You can't really feel and count where the clicks are with a gloved hand while on the bike. It's designed more to ride, stop, adjust while you're not moving, and then get back on and ride again. I wish I could try this fork on a different bike to get a better feel for it, possibly with a little bit shorter travel. I think that the MRP ribbon stands at or above the RockShox Lyric and the Fox 36, with the same stiffness and performance, but more adjustability, especially if you're one who likes to play around with your settings. And I think the ramp control is an amazing feature that just holds MRP right up there. Luckily, if you've already got a RockShox or a Fox fork that you love, MRP most likely makes a ramp control cartridge for those forks that's easily installed, so you don't have to keep messing with tokens. When I decide on a bike, I'm definitely spending the extra $140 on the ramp control cartridge. And then further down the road, I would consider selling my fork and upgrading to the MRP ribbon. This conclusion is ultimately why I wanted to ride the bike. So although I didn't enjoy the Banshee Rune, I'm sold on the MRP forks. So thanks for watching, guys.